Oh, welcome everyone. This is the a New Earth dialogue we're doing today, and we're going to be opening it up for questions and some experiences and testimonies. But I wanted to just start to get our spirits fixed on this concept that Bill and I went and did an encounter once, and we actually had a strong mandate to actually ask about laws of New Earth, as we have laws of Jerusalem and the laws of Zion. And it was very interesting when we did this. It flowed out very easily. I was really quite shocked, but I thought I'd just read them today, just to help you focus on what we're talking about here, and give food for thought, for questions. What we saw was that the first law will be that everything will sing God's praises. We'll get back to the original frequencies, but as it was the original blueprint, that everything was meant to sing and honor God, and everything really. The second one was everything is light. So some of us have actually seen that it can be shown to be called a city of light as well, and we're light, the city's light, there's no darkness. All is one, even nature. So everything comes into the final one united body concept of being in complete union and harmony. And that's really why it's just such a beautiful place to operate out of. So it can be your current now, the now that you operate out of, in complete ecstasy of union and harmony, not tolerating anything less than that. And also, we've been on this journey of seeing the strands of the DNA entwining more and more. And this is almost and the bench of one, where everything entwines together. So this is like an extension of the bench of one that is manifested in more of a physical concept than a spiritual one. So you might even be able to sort of step into something, and then it opens up into something else, because everything's one. The fourth one was never-ending cycle of light. So as we saw, like the infinity sign that never finishes, the 8 figure, it represents ongoing discovery, and there's always new realms to create, new days to make. So we can actually live out of New Earth. It's like we are the New Earth. So we're not going to a place, we're being it, and we are living in that frequency, choosing to live in that frequency. And therefore we can choose to create new days, like we are framing and commanding the morning. It's a version of that, but we're actually saying there's new realms here that we can bring into existence, which dictate how we operate and how we experience, and there's no limit to the creativity that can be created there. The limit is ourselves, and expanding our creativity as to what we want to do. The fifth one was total perfection. So no evil whatsoever, complete perfection. The sixth one was the ecstasy paradise sort of environment, really, of how we can fully live in that ecstatic state and being God's paradise. The seventh one was family. So it's really a place of collaboration, of all together. We're one big family, enjoying each other, doing things together that where there's no there's no conflict. People see the fullest blueprint and they come into union with that. The 8th one was fulfill destiny. This is the place when we live out of this current now. We are saying that we're choosing our fullest and fulfilled destiny, and we're walking in that. The 9th one was we operate from desire. So again, the same principle as we do in the heavenly realms. Desire comes in very strongly. That dictates what we do, but because we're in complete union and fully completed, what we do is always holy and good. The 10th one was we create like the Father, and we operate in the same way the Father did when he created the earth. He created us, he created the animals. We can operate in that similar manner. And the 11th one was giving of ourselves out of complete abundance to honor and create with one another. So again, that giving, it's interesting that giving concept we saw was still there. Even though there's complete abundance, we just have to pull down from the atmosphere complete abundance of anything we want. But because there's such a holy nature to the body, the giving we saw was still an element. We still wanted to give out. So it wasn't that everyone was just there, right, what can I do for myself, be greedy and just become sort of self-indulgent. It was, well, what can I share? Because that was such a natural part of a holy body. Yes, and the last one was the complete abundance exists. So again, it's retraining our mind to think, how do we operate when there's complete abundance? Because we're so used to living out of lack and feeling we need to get and get and get more because there's lack. Whereas this is the opposite mindset of saying there is complete abundance, I'm free to give away. The Father has completely completed me. I can now give back because I'm not in any lack. We also have a page, and it's called, and a whole new section on the Ecclesia Framework website called New Earth. And the first page there has a lot of experiences that many of us, when we're doing encounters, we've seen. Some of them are very similar to the things I've just shared, but I'm just scanning down the page. You can refer to this any time, just to find things that we haven't mentioned. Yeah, morphing is one, scenes collapsing, calling objects solid or fluid according to what we need, changing the color of things at our will. We're actually still asking about whether there's thrones. We're not sure on that. There might or there might not be, but I don't think it's not the same in the sense of we go and see the Father on a throne that's separate from us and we approach him, because everything's one. There's honor, all are honored by everyone. Oh, we can create angels. Yes, I've actually seen that. I actually have done that. We can create angels. There's no money. Resources are pulled out of the environment. No night, as God's glory presides constantly. But I think there will be periods where we can rest. We won't have to be active the whole time. It may be a form of choosing sleep. No concept of time. No marriage with other humans, because we're all one. There'll be no sense of needing to marry, no lack, no loneliness. There will always be family there. We'll always be in constant awareness of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. No separation, no false governance. We believe as well the body will be very different, so we won't have to feed it like we do currently. Complete infused knowledge of everything, and reigning as co-heirs with Christ over all we create in partnership, which is the final blueprint of reigning with Christ. So it will be our place, again, back to the original scenario of Adam having dominion over the earth when Father created him in Genesis. This will be the restoring of that reigning over things that we've created. So we'll have to actually rule over anything we create. So again, that's another reason to think seriously over what we create. Yeah, so there's just a few points that we can to stimulate any discussion. Anushka, I just wanted to ask you, what kind of encounters have you had? What have you seen there?
Well, I started encountering New Earth just after I joined EF, actually. So it's just about a month. And um, I have gone to other places. Um, but when it comes to New Earth, I noticed certain things. I noticed that when I was in New Earth, I don't know if you'd call it a vortex or something, where I seen this type of a flow coming in. And then I also heard others talking about it. So that was a confirmation because I see it all getting drawn into New Earth. What I also saw was I seen a throne, a gold throne, a big throne. And as someone else was on the encounter also seen it, and we seen it simultaneously. But it was in a house. It was not how we see the thrones in the 12 cities. It wasn't like that at all, but it was a throne nonetheless. And when I sat on that throne, it was like the scene was constantly changing. So I was on New Earth, but at the same time I could be in any place. So what I was thinking was, if the 12 cities become one city, in the end it's just one city, and that city comes down onto New Earth, then then there's just one throne. So could it possibly be that it's just could it possibly be that it's the same throne that we have encountered in all the cities, which eventually become one city, and then that throne is on New Earth? I feel that that's highly a probability.
Yes, I do, now you've said it.
And so, and the amazing thing about that was that when I sat, so no matter whatever you think, or wherever you want to be, or whatever you want to think, it's kind of like a mobile throne. You're on New Earth, but you're also in that place wherever you want to govern from. You don't need to get up from the throne and keep changing thrones and keep going from city to city and changing each and every throne all the time, because it's really the same throne, but it's just a progression as the 12 aspects of Jesus. But in the end, it's all one. So That was
Wow.
what I was thinking.
That is resonating quite strongly with me. Yes. Not that I've seen that, but absolutely my spirit is saying yes.
Me too, because I see that really in New Earth, I'm the throne and I'm the New Earth. It's like I'm morphing to becoming the throne. Meanwhile, I'm the one sitting on it too. It's so complicated. How, don't know how to say it, but I become the throne. I become the one on it. And then with that throne, I can go to all the 12 cities, even though I don't know the 12 cities yet. But like you can hop around, just think it and you are there.
Yes, and because this let's say we could call it like a mobile throne. It represents everything that the 12 cities do. So what you're doing really is I think in the interim, till everyone gets there is a form of ruling from New Earth. So we're sort of ruling over all the elements of the cities and the strands of DNA of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit to establish it into a concept for everyone, which is sort of what I do in Metatron's Cube. But that feels different. That's kind of like but it's the same concept. I almost see that though as then the step before this. So if this is really anyone's really struggling with this, you begin to embrace the cities, then embrace Metatron's Cube and begin to actually see yourself as the I am of those characteristics. And then when you do that for all the I suppose it is the 12 strands, you'll get some concept of what it is to embrace all the concepts as one act. It's almost just like opening multiple doors in yourself on a long strand that goes down through the cities, and then that can prepare you for what you're doing on New Earth, which is really bringing in and living out of all those elements: complete righteousness, peace, joy, full holiness, justice, judgment, complete new body with complete wholeness. So that's really good, Anushka. Anyone else got experiences they want to share, or questions, or anything? Yes. Really?
Again, what is coming to me is Metatron's Cube is for now that we have time and space. New Earth is Metatron's Cube upgraded when we get to New Earth. You see, now that we are here in time and space, Metatron's Cube is there, whereby everything that has to come here, has to be created, is already in there. And when we get to, what I'm seeing is that when we get to New Earth, there will be no Metatron's Cube, but an upgrade of Metatron's Cube, something like Metatron's Cube, because New Earth will actually, in the end, be like Metatron's Cube, but better.
Yes, and just to add to what Patience said, because when I was with Simone and Patience, engaging my scroll, that was something that I seen on the last page, that I poorly described as a spiral, which was a Fibonacci rows or whatever. It has many. It just goes on, and it's you can go around it. And what we noticed was when Simone, Patience, and myself, they engaged it with me. And when we got into this, what I started feeling was, that's me. It represented me on the page. But what I noticed was there were parts that were in time and there were parts that were out of time. And what I saw was it was so immense. We all saw that it was limitless. It just went on and on and on and on. But what I saw was that there were so many dimensions in it. It included infinity, things that were going to be created. It included everything. And so what I felt was that maybe because that's who we are, because as a person of who we are as a son, we are portals, and there are angels and there are beings that can enter us and go into different portals. Those portals could be in space, in time, out of time. They could even go into the future and come out of it. They could even go from new earth or infinity through us and come out of us. So the feeling that I got was in this encounter with Patience and Simone was that we become Metatron's cube, literally. I think Metatron's cube is somewhat of a pattern for us. So I don't feel that we may need Metatron's cube in the future when we are so many portals all in one place. You know what I mean?
Yes, exactly.
And we are limitless. And it's like angels can go from the throne room into me, but they can also go to New Earth. And there's a whole lot. So even we have even done that with people in Eden, giving them their bodies, or what they go through us, and they can go anywhere. And so we are so many portals all at once, and we can allow beings, whether they are angels or whatever, to actually go through us, but they can all go through us even at the same time, but they could end up in different places wherever they wanted to go. So what I felt was we are on New Earth, we are part of New Earth, we are one with New Earth. And maybe then we start functioning like Metatron's cube.
So maybe in a certain sense, we become a portal. We become all portals in one.
We are already all portals, is how I see it. Like if angels or if people wanted to go through us from Eden to New Earth, they can. If angels want to go from the throne room to the earth, the current now, they can, which means that they can go through different timelines, which also means that they can go in time and out of time, like from New Earth to, now or whatever. So, or from eternity, they can actually move through us. So when Jesus said he is the gate, the door, he meant a door to every portal. And if Jesus is a pattern, I feel that we become Metatron's cube. Because I had this encounter, and the reason I say this is I had a personal encounter with Metatron's cube where I actually stepped into Metatron's cube, but then I had God the Father there, and then I kind of stepped out of Metatron's cube, and I grew bigger than Metatron's cube. So what I saw... Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Anushka. Go ahead.
It's okay. What was that you were going to say, Simone?
Well, I was going to remind you of, what we came to when we were, when you saw that. Do you remember that we said that what was happening was that we were seeing, when you were becoming Metatron's cube, we were seeing that this was an expression that we were becoming one with God in all of creation. Since everything that is created, it is to be created comes out of Metatron. Do you remember that? And so really what you were seeing was that it's an expression of becoming one with God, which was basically we were seeing the end final blueprint.
Yes, it is a
I
blueprint.
resonate with this quite well. It's being a one new man and really being one with God in almost to a perfection. And I really resonate with the fact that we become almost infinite portal ways. In some of the encounters, I'm beginning to experience that we, in our DNA, as we go through the cities in heaven, and even New Earth as one of the city of lights, it all becomes one, like descending from New Jerusalem, and it's activating somehow in our current timeline as well, in our DNA, and it becomes a portal to all that's happening. Like when we are descending onto the new earth as a one new man doing we're manifesting our morphing and all those things. It's because there's something happening in our physical DNA being activated to a certain point. We are actually seeing things, what will happen to our physical body as well. I really sense there are many portals. I mean, this is almost like the hidden letter of Hebrew, Ka, the 23rd letter being activated in all of us. And I think it's the one that's being activated in this way as we go through all those cities in, like, I don't know, it's 12 because we haven't gone through all 12 yet, all those cities. And as we become so, become one with Christ in heart, in headship, and in form, in everything happens in that manner, because Jesus right now has a physical body, and our physical body is becoming like his body.
It's like we had said previously, and I think I remember Patience saying this, and that was that Metatron's cube is like the womb of God. And so, again, everything that has been created or is to be created can be found. That pattern can be found in Metatron's cube, you know, depending on, you know, what you focus on and all those geometrical representations. Each geometrical representation that can be seen in Metatron's cube, I'm talking about in the diagram form, is a representation of something that has been created or could be created, let's say. All right, so really in essence, Metatron can be seen as what God, as a expression of what God has or will create, or no, I should say what God has created. So then, if we become Metatron's cube, we're becoming like God again, which is the goal.
Yes, Simone. Let me add a little here. You know, I agree with all that you're saying. So the point is that just as Metatron's cube contains everything that has been created and will be created, and in other way, and to describe it another way, is the blueprint, is the ultimate blueprint.
Yes.
You know, the same way we are God's ultimate blueprint. Like Grace was saying, the Hebrew letters are even all in us, and all the portals are in us. So when we get to New Earth, we are the full blueprints, and we have all these portals in us. Just as Jesus Christ was the door, and the door in the sense that in the beginning, from him came everything. Everything was created out of him. The same way we in New Earth, everything that is to come, we will create them. They will come out of us. We have to
totally agree that the new earth is gonna come out of us.
Yeah, we have to create them to fill, like Jesus Christ, God said, come and fill the earth. Now we are the Adams to fill the earth, not with children, but with the things we create.
And let me come from another direction, and another confirmation of this is from another arc, if you will. They expressed it differently, but they're saying the same thing. And that is Robin Main's group. You know, she had this teaching that things were Metatron, which seemed really way out then. But now, because of this understanding that we came into, when the three of us did that encounter, it's lining up. And that was that that certain things in Metatron's cube are, they would use the phrase that something is Metatron, like it was an archetype, and meaning that it could be found, that pattern could be found in Metatron's cube, and that it was, let me see. Hold on, I lost my thought. Sorry. It being Metatron, meaning that it was a prototype or a pattern to create something. And just how different people in history in the Bible basically are archetypes, and can and they can be created from that. So anyway, I just wanted to share that too.
So Metatron's cube is a prototype of what we are to be in the end, but more in the new age.
Yes, because that's what I saw in my personal encounter.
I saw that too.
In my personal encounter, it was like when he spoke to me, because initially I was this normal size that I am when I'm in Metatron's cube. And when he spoke to me and I stepped out, it made me realize that it was like I got this revelation all of a sudden that I'm so much bigger than Metatron's cube. And then I started seeing myself growing and growing and growing. And finally, I became so much bigger than Metatron's cube. And I actually took Metatron's cube inside of me, that I was able to contain it like it was nothing. And when I had the encounter, I didn't share this with Patience and Simone, I don't think. But when I had the encounter with the last page, it just made sense that it was so much bigger, included so much more. Like we are meant to be so much more than Metatron's cube. We are meant to be his pattern, what he is, as a door, as a portal to many different dimensions. Like you can step into Jesus and you can go anywhere. You know, I think that's our pattern.
Yes, and what happened with me is, I have been sleeping in New Earth for some time because I wanted to know more and to take it all in. So when I'm going to sleep, I just sleep there. And then I normally sleep like on a big green lawn. I don't know, me and in the spirit, green is like all over me. I sleep there, and then one day I slept there, just 2 days ago, I slept there, and like Anushka is saying, I saw that I became bigger than Metatron's cube. And it was like, I am like Metatron's cube, but better and bigger. And it's like, I just put my mind on what I want to create, and that thing comes out. And I created a butterfly with different colors, and the colors were constantly changing, and this butterfly has an ivory horn, one ivory horn, and it has legs. Something a little different from what we normally see. And then when I just thought of it and described it in my spirit, and then it started coming out, like it's coming out of me. And when it came, I wished they were more, and they started multiplying. I just wished they were more, started multiplying. And I had to stop asking them to be more because they were continually adding up just because I was thinking it. So I said, okay, I don't want any more. It's enough. And then it stopped.
Hmm.
Can I say one? Can I say? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
It's okay, Simone. Go ahead.
I found some clear articulation of what I was trying to say earlier, and that was that from the other arc, they were saying that something was when they said something was Metatron, but basically what they were saying was that something was godlike, and so this is similar to what we were saying too. So I just wanted to say that there's even a confirmation that another arc had found the same thing, which I thought was was worth noting. And then we saw this too, a sliver of this when we were engaged in the cherubic nature, and when we were shown to look deep into the cherubs, and we took on the likeness of the cherubs. But again, the cherubs are even found inside of Metatron's cube. So it's just following again that, everything inside of Metatron's cube we become, because everything that is made comes out of God. Do you understand what I'm saying? And so because we're becoming like Metatron's cube, again, we're becoming like God. So I just wanted to share that too. So we're seeing it from more than one perspective, even in engaging with the cherubs. That's what I wanted to share.
Question I wanted to ask is, what is the relationship between old earth and new earth? And I'm just beginning to think about this. Scripture tells us that old earth will pass away. So that means that new earth, which is now our dwelling place, is replacing old earth as our dwelling place. And it would seem to me it also means that the most important part of old earth is the people. That we're not going to be spending time on fixing old earth completely, because it is going to pass away, and that what we do here on old earth is directed towards bringing people into the family of God and into their destiny. Does that sound right? Is there, you wanted to dialogue that out and just get that relationship clear between old earth and new earth, if we could?
What I think is new earth is actually the original blueprint in the wars, how the earth was meant to be and supposed to be and how it was supposed to function. So that's what I actually think.
So it's actually the same earth, but it's the earth the way it's meant to be.
Yes, like in the what was.
Mm-hmm.
I totally agree with that. And that's what I've been meditating on too, is that is the restoration of all things.
Yes, absolutely.
Wow. I'm just realizing that new earth could be, it could be that we would spend so much time on new earth that we're actually avoiding things that we should be taking care of. That's the one side of it. The other side of it is we could be not investing enough of ourselves into new earth because we're trying to fix the old, when what's really happening is we've got an identical replacement for the old. So we don't really need to be spending a whole lot of time on fixing the old. The fix is new earth. And that would come back to my point then, that the real emphasis here in old earth would be on people and bringing them into the fullness of their destiny and the fullness of new earth.
If the fixing the old earth is doing it in old way, I don't think that's we're going to be involved with it. But however, as we engage ourselves in new earth, because we are engaging it, we are still living in this old earth here. We are also the portals, as we discussed. Because of that, there is no way that we are staying the same. We are carrying the different frequencies. We are carrying the different frequencies of new earth more and more, and it's being vibrated out in this current timeline, a physical timeline here. So it is being restored continually. As we're not doing anything, we are doing in a different way to restore all things.
I have
Does
a
it make any
question.
sense?
Oh, sorry, Grace.
No,
I
it's
thought you were done.
okay. No, I'm just wondering if it makes any sense. Like, we're not going to fix our old ways of doing things, but in every way and every part of society here that we live in and we are involved with, we are continually being part of that restoration, because we are being restored as ourselves being restored.
Yes, I'm resonating, Grace, with what you're saying. We had a bit of a dialogue the other day, and we concluded it was a bit of both, but in the new way. So everything you've said, really, yes.
So we're actually like new earth walking on old earth. Because we are new earth, we're bringing new earth with us everywhere we are on the old earth.
Mm.
Yes.
And the Bible also says that old earth will vanish away, right? At a point in time.
So I have a question. It says that we get changed in the twinkling of an eye. So is it that we don't need to wait for the old earth to pass away? We'll automatically start living on new earth? And when does that happen? Does that happen when there's a tipping point, or when do you see us actually going to permanently live there on new earth? Does anyone know?
Well, I think this is why we've been led to really understand the last few chapters of Revelation, because I think the timeline is articulated there, and it's probably not as simple as we thought it was before we really got into those verses. And I see that's the journey that we've actually started on for a few weeks now, and we'll continue. There's a few key events that have to happen before New Earth can come for everyone. And so it's the extent to which we embrace those as well as forerunners. If we're going to fight them or choose not to show any interest in them, that could postpone or lengthen the time that New Earth can come for everyone. And we're even questioning what the tipping point is now. Yesterday we had a bit of a dialogue around, was it not the 144,000 anymore? Because if you look at the progression in the scriptures, the 144,000 take their place in Revelation 14, I think it is. And after that, then is the great harvest. Then is the 7 plagues, and the God's wrath is being implemented through the angels with the 7 bowls and the 7 plagues, and then there's the whole things around the beasts, and then God finally judging, and then there's the final judgment. And so there's a lot that I think we haven't got into that we can have a part in that will bring this acceleration?
In the meantime, it seems to me that New Earth is one of these, well, like everything else, we're engaging New Earth on forerunning timeline right now.
Mm.
And so it can be that New Earth is much further along the timeline in the forerunning timeline than it is in the Ecclesia timeline or the Earth timeline. So it seems to me we could be experiencing it much more fully. But even then, you're correct, Jane. Even on the forerunning timeline, we still have to go through all these events in their order before we really fully experience New Earth on the forerunning timeline. So right now, it seems like what we're doing is almost entirely initial discovery.
Mm.
Does that seem right?
Mm. Yes. And I feel so strongly in my spirit, but please say if you disagree, because it's all really out there pioneering stuff. I really feel that we can accelerate these events.
Mm-hmm.
So everything, when I operate New Earth, all I feel like I'm doing is like sucking this everything together in the here, as if it's, what I'm doing is an accelerated composite way of all the verses in Revelation at the end. Dealing with everything like the first resurrection, the dealing with the beast, dealing with this or that, the 144,000, like I'm just like whoosh, kind of sucking it into the New Earth environment, such that it almost feels like the timeline that it could be is, we could squash it down.
Okay, so I think what I'm hearing you say is you're actually bringing all the good results of governmental actions here into New Earth, so that the finished product of all those that are going to be part of the big picture, part of the plan, all those who say yes, come into New Earth, having gone through the different parts of the revelation there as being the vehicle that causes people to come in. And those who are saying no are the ones that that's all that you're not able to draw in with you, is those that are saying no.
Yeah.
And you seem to be doing the whole of Revelation in one giant governmental action without doing it step by step by step. You're doing it in one action at one time, and you're experiencing that whole thing as one drawing in of the final product into New Earth.
Yes.
That makes complete sense, Jane.
It's almost as if my it's as if my spirit doesn't at the moment want to do anything else.
Yeah.
I don't feel any desire to, other than just a little bit of fun for me, having sort of, because I try and really live in that ecstatic way. That's what I do with the New Earth thing. I think, right, every moment, how can I live in the fullest blueprint and the fullest ecstasy? So if there's something fun there, like I like exploring, so I'll explore, but apart from a little bit of that, I'm trying to be at this really high frequency that doesn't accept any negative, any sickness, any disharmony. It just kind of keep myself in this really homeostatic kind of beautiful high frequency place. Apart from that, this is all I want to do. I want to be this rose, this Fibonacci thing, and I can just feel like I can see in my spirit all these things that have to take place, but they won't take place unless the sons kind of get the thing moving, because it's our time now to do that. We with a live body have the right and the ability to do that, but we have to get away from this myth that, you know, it's a set time and God will just decide when that time is, and it won't be linked to anything that we do or don't do. And that's what I see is it's dominated, it's absolutely suffocated the church, such that it's made them feel that end times are irrelevant because it's all up to God and God's just going to decide, so we don't have to concern ourselves with that, so we'll concern ourselves with the old earth. And it's actually the other way around. That's what I see is it's if you can do the earth the biggest favor by dealing with these issues more than you can, say, you know, governing over politics or global warming or anything like that.
You're actually functioning as bench of one.
Oh,
With
yes,
no,
I've never seen that.
yeah, with no linear
Yes.
component to it at all.
Yeah.
Yes, and what's weird is I'm desperately trying to see people and see things, and I can't very easily. Everything's like just so one. It's like I can't. It's so weird. It's always like I want separation, but it's very hard to get it because everything keeps getting sucked back into this one state.
So I have a question.
Talking.
If we are, go ahead, Patience.
Thank you. Whilst you're talking, what is coming to me is you're operating like Jesus did. You know, he came to the earth as one person, yet he was all of us.
Yes.
And so he died
That's
as
good,
one
Patience.
person, yet we all died. He resurrected as one person, but we were all in him. And he ascended and we became children of God also, just as he was. And so in the same way, you are doing the same thing he did, but you are doing it for the new earth. He did it for this earth, right? So you are going there as everybody that's one bench, and whatever we are to do at the last page is what you are doing to bring us all in. So as you do it, it's like a forerunner. As you do it, we can all step into it and receive it as a finished work and work it with you, just as we did with Jesus.
So I had a question. If all the events of Revelation we actually happens on the Forerunner timeline, then is it that on the Forerunner timeline people can actually start entering New Earth, even though it's not actually happening on the old Earth timeline? Do we see
Yes.
people will be entering? That means they'll be entering even before the old Earth. Back to my first question, they'll be entering New Earth before the old Earth actually passes away. Then, in that case,
Yes, yes.
Yes.
I think you could actually move on the Forerunner timeline to the point at which Old Earth actually has passed away.
that's
To
right.
Still be on the
Yeah.
Forerunner timeline.
That's right.
Yeah. We can
That's
operate
right.
like
To
that.
live on the new timeline. I mean, on the
Yes.
new Earth. Yes.
He called the end in the beginning, right?
Yep.
That's it. That's the same principle. So Jane, you see what I was talking about?
Yes, yes. I think I'm in agreement. Yes.
And we can do that as forerunners. And you are the forerunner ahead of even the forerunners, you know?
Yeah, well, it's weird. It's I think because I've bought into this governmental thing so deeply for the ecclesia, that I may have got in this position because of that commitment to wanting the full blueprint for the ecclesia. So I think that's it. I think if anyone's struggling with this whole concept, I see that's the root. You've got to see the immense sadness of what God's body is now compared to what it could be. And when you feel that, and you feel the sadness of it and the incompleteness and the immense glory on the one new man and the function of the one new man, it's almost like it creates this amazing energy that causes you to be able to operate in this way that you can't let go, because you've actually had that insight and you're not willing to tolerate any lesser blueprint for the body, because it's just so under what it was meant to be.
You know, I have a question that's coming to me, and this is kind of connected to what Patience just said, but you know, when Jesus died before the foundations of the earth, I wonder if when he did that, when he died before the foundations of the earth, did he do what we're talking about right now, in that before the old earth even came, they knew what was going to happen, and he died to, you know, redeem us. And so what I'm saying is, in that same respect, are we being required, which is what we're doing right now, to create this new earth even before the new earth manifests, so that it could be, you know, the basically the what was supposed to be, you know, back initially, and it was the end meeting the beginning.
Oh.
Do you follow what I'm saying?
Yes.
I do. I think that's a profound question, a fabulous question. And now you've said it, I feel like the journey we're on is, we are going through this death like Jesus did before the foundation of the world, to do the same thing. And that's why it has to be a continual road and journey of giving up. Even though you start this journey thinking, oh, it's all about, you know, getting and being in ecstasy, and it ends up constantly saying, I'll give in, I'll give up, I'll die to this, I'll die to that understanding of the blueprint, I'll die to that. So yeah, I almost feel like I'm dying before the creation of the world now, like Jesus.
It's part of our overcoming. This, I think, is a part of our definition of our overcoming, is these things that, like you just said, and to those that overcome, they'll be given.
Yes.
You know, what he said he's going to give us.
Yes, and it's like, unless you really let go everything, you can't really get to the point of receiving being a full new earth like you're supposed to be.
Yes.
And Paul spoke about death being at work in him, that life might be in work in others. So my question is, I think I agree that we are participating in his death before the foundation of the world. But my next question is it then true that he wasn't resurrected before the foundation of the world? He died before the foundation of the world, but the resurrection's happening now as a result of that dying. And the other thing too here, part of that. It talks in Scripture about us filling up the sufferings of Jesus. So our participation in our current participation in dying is filling up his sufferings, because his body then suffers, the ecclesia suffers, as does the head. But back to that resurrection question, I think the resurrection's now, but the death was then.
I think resurrection was there too. He was a forerunner. He was a forerunner. He died and resurrected. I might be wrong, but that's what I sense.
Then the answer to Simone's question all back would be that what Jane is doing right now is what Jesus was doing before the foundation of the world. It's participation in that.
Yes.
This is the fullness of the work that he did. Actually, this is not just the dying, this is the ruling too. This is governing.
Uh-huh. And this dying is not like the way he died physically.
Yeah.
This dying is like, we all know, dying to your ego, self, the three of them.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Separation from.
Separation from. And that is hard for us because we're so used to having our own way, doing things according to the world system, our soul in control,
Mm.
Jane, in your experience, I'm sorry, Patience, go ahead.
That was me. I was saying that what's coming to me now is, it's just a simple thing, but you remember Jesus even said that that we would go through the things that he went through as well. And it's just ringing true. I was just seeing that's ringing true on every level.
Mm-hmm.
And he said those who lose their lives will find it. Those who don't lose it, they won't find it. This is what Jane is doing, literally losing her life.
Mm.
Letting go fame and riches, and I want to be me, this and that. Like even some acts are doing, it's like they're coming out to be them.
Yeah, and I must say, I feel like I am dying again with this new earth, because I'm dying to any sense of the blueprint, and I got quite comfortable and happy with the whole eternity, infinity, governing. I was very happy there, comfortable, I loved it. And this, I have to confess, I'm really struggling with it. I kind of have these moments of ecstasy, and then I go into, what is this? It's just so weird. This is freaky. I'm not sure I like this. And I can feel so much in my spirit resisting it. I was quite conscious before the call today. I thought, I've just got to go in and deal with a lot of stuff of my own junk here that's blocking this. There's stuff in there. I know I can feel it. I can almost articulate it. But again, it's like it is a dying again. It is a dying because there's something about this I don't like. I can feel it in my spirit. I'm like, I don't like this. It's just, ugh. So I've got to go through this again, and so it's a very interesting journey, isn't it? It's as if we just cannot hold on to any sense of what it will look like, and even what we've articulated all today, that might actually not be the fullest blueprint either. So we might have to die to that and then reframe it again, because I sense that we didn't quite get this Metatron's cube thing right when we were dialoguing earlier. There was bits just not sitting well with me, but I didn't know what it was. I couldn't say that this is the alternative way. I sensed it was just a lot of truth we had to really uncover. So again, it's this constant journey.
Can I say this, Jane? And that is that just this this dying that you're going through. You know, it was a while back we kept seeing, you know, God kept showing us dying, and in the dying, everybody knows this, but I just feel to articulate. In dying, you know, in the process of dying, but after the death, there's a new, better, a new, improved, increased resurrection that happens.
Yeah, there's a birth.
Right.
Oh.
And
new beginning.
do you all remember where we kept seeing that? It was a period we kept seeing that, God
Yes.
kept telling us
The
about dying.
coffins. The coffins, right?
I wonder if this is a travail for new earth.
Yes, yes. That's what's coming to me. Yes. When Zion travailed and brought forth, and new earth is travailing to bring forth.
Yep.
Oh, thank you. That's really encouraging, because I didn't see that, and yeah, that really helps.
It's the joy set before you, Jane.
I've seen it in the form of a trade too. It might be our governmental act tonight that we trade what we currently have and know for the next level up, if you will, the new birth thing. So I'm just seeing a trade here. It's an opportunity to trade our current understanding of what we've gotten up to this point for something better.
Yeah. Yeah,
Whatever it may be, you know?
Right, exactly. And what was it? This past week we traded some crowns in, remember? And so here's another trade again.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
And we are calling for that the birthing will be quick. Zion just travailed a short time and birth, you know? So it doesn't have to be long, prolonged suffering or dying.
I think part of that too is that if we join her in this to some extent, it'll be a shorter period of time too.
Yeah, and then made easier.
Yeah.
Because we all carry the burden.
Yep. My sense, Jane, is this is both a tethering, untethering at the same time. This sucking up process is both tethering and untethering all at one time.
Oh.
Yeah, like we saw on Sunday, right, Ben? A bill.
Yeah. So I see it almost like a whirlwind, like a tornado. But there's winds going in both directions, the clockwise and counterclockwise at the same time. Sometimes it's more one side more than the other. But it seems like both processes are going on all at one time, letting go of the old and moving into the new at the same time.
Maybe as a one man, we should grow together.
The other thing too, I think this is basically Gethsemane is what it is. And we saw this on the encounter recently, that the victory was won in Gethsemane, and everything else on the cross, he was just walking out what he'd already won in Gethsemane.
So, Bill, what are we saying when it comes to tethering and untethering?
Letting go of the old is the untethering, and moving into the new, choosing the new is the tethering. So we're primarily old earth versus new earth. Untethering from old, tethering into new.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to know. What are we tethering ourselves to? So are we saying we're tethering ourselves to the new earth right now?
Yeah, and also from what Jane's saying, we're tethering ourselves to a higher blueprint.
Yeah.
We're letting go all we know of the blueprint in return for something. This is one more Abraham journey, you know? Leave, list of things to leave and go to the place that I will show you. We don't know what it's like yet. We're choosing something we've never seen. But he's got us on a journey heading towards it.
So there could be something after New Earth as well, was what I was thinking earlier.
Wow.
It's hard to say, and almost undoubtedly there is, but
Yeah.
in the book that he's given us the beginning and then the fall, which is the problem, and all the rest of the book is about how bad that problem is and what is being done to undo what was done. And then you've got the last two chapters of Revelation at the end of the book, which is where we're finding this new earth, as we're finding it in Revelation 21. So it's at the very end of the book, and he doesn't give us anything after that to show us what happens after the end of the book, and we don't need to know, because our job is to undo the trade that Adam did and finish the trade into that Jesus began. That's our job, and what happens after that will be shown when we need to know. Right now, we don't need to know. We've got this one mandate right now, to join Jesus in finishing the job.
I feel differently about that, Bill.
Hmm?
I feel like because when we are saying that this is the final blueprint, I'm thinking that, and I have a desire to know more.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's not his will for us not to know,
Okay.
but I think he reveals to us as to how much we can handle because of, our own blockages, our own stumbling blocks, our own mindsets. I think it's our own mindsets that actually limit us, really. He never ever limited us, and he's told me, to never limit him. So if we are, as on the last page, maybe it's not really new earth, which is the final blueprint. Maybe that us coming into us being our final blueprint, that's us. That's why we say that the new earth and we are one when it comes to the final blueprint. And I think that that's not, I find it hard to swallow that that's the end of it. That's where our final destiny is, because I think that's actually the starting point where everything begins.
I agree. It's to be a new beginning.
Yes, and that's where everything then just starts flowing, and that's where our actual life really begins, because all that's happening now is we're facing the repercussions that happened, and we're trying to untrade, as you said, and we're trying to get back on track. And I think once we get to new earth, it's just it's our beginning. And so I'm curious about that. I know there's much more that's not the final blueprint. We are entering into the wholeness as to what we were supposed to be and how we're supposed to operate and so on. And I also had questions. About having said all this, I was wondering about what are the consequences once people start, those who are operating on the Forerunner timeline, start living out of new earth while the old earth is already in existence? Are we seeing that? Are we seeing any consequences?
As far as changing old earth?
Yeah. Once we on the Forerunner timeline, when there are people who actually go and start living on new earth while the old, because they're doing that in the Forerunner timeline, as the old earth is still existing, would there be consequences of what happens on the old earth? Like Jane was saying, would things be delayed or things wouldn't be delayed? I mean, do we have any idea, or we're not sure about that right now?
I think anything you do in the Forerunner timeline is going to speed things up rather than slow things down.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
What's coming to me is this is another reason why we need to step into the fullness of sonship, so we'll have the capability of being in multiple places at once.
I thought we
Um,
do have that ability, right? To be in multiple places at once.
right, we do have that ability, but I'm talking about actually operating in it. But let me tell you what came to me that made me think of that, and that was David. And the fact we know he traveled the timeline quite a bit, but what I'm sensing is that he had one of himself staying here while he traveled and did other things and came back. Or he just kind of did multiple things at once along the different timelines. So that's what made me think of that.
I don't think that we're abandoning old Earth by concentrating on new Earth, though. I think it's one more aspect of Jane's repeated exhortations to us to keep going up to the biggest blueprint. There certainly is. I don't think there's going to be any issue with a small forerunner group concentrating on New Earth. It's not going to cause Old Earth to collapse because we're not doing our job on Old Earth. Though at the same time, I'm sure we need to as long as we're still here on the Old Earth, we still need to pay enough attention to it to keep things running, but there's plenty of other people that are working at the kingship level and so on that are doing what needs to be done. And there's nobody else doing what needs to be done at the New Earth level. So I think it doesn't hurt at all for us to put our effort into it fully.
Yeah, that's what I felt. The Holy Spirit saying that last week. I felt like there was so much that was distracting us. We were getting sucked down into the fathering at the expense of this agenda, and we were not to do that. And I felt really uneasy about everything I was doing. I felt like I've got to just stop so many things. And back to your question, Anushka. I can see this picture. I can see when you spoke, it was as if I could see the old Earth and it was being sucked inside me as the new Earth. And I knew what that meant. What we're doing effectively is we're bringing the full salvation and the full union for everyone. So we're pulling in all the lost, all the dead in Christ who don't have their bodies, the extent of the current ecclesia, how much it's living in union with Christ. We're pulling them all into that biggest blueprint. And so in that sense, the consequences for old Earth are really good, because if you look at some of the passages, say like around the beast, and you see how many are serving the beast, but then there's those that don't have to serve the beast. If by us pulling them into this higher blueprint, there'll be less who will serve the beast, and so we won't have all those consequences. So in one sense, we really are still looking after old Earth by doing this, but in a bigger sense. You just got to really understand just what was happening in those verses. What's the beast about? I just spent a whole morning 2 days ago trying to get this pattern in my brain of what happens. So the beast comes. So who does that affect? That affects all the non-Christians are really suffering, but the Christians are okay. And then the beast is defeated, and then what happens after that, so that you can see what the plan is for the world, and then the moment you do that, you get this intense hunger that you want to change this, accelerate it to be less those following the idols of the world, really.
Even as you started, what was so amazing was when you just said, I think you just said a word or two, and even before you could complete the sentence, I seen the new earth sucking up from the old earth. And when you completed the sentence, it was like I already knew it. What you said was
Wow.
strange. Yeah.
Wow. Maybe it's because we're both operating at a new earth and we're in such union that there's like a dancing going on, a partnership. One person says one thing, it suddenly opens the gate for someone else, and feeling that more and more with people. The moment they say something, bam, I get this revelation.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think it's because we are operating in new earth, whether it's infused knowledge or something. It's like we are experiencing that oneness, and what we are bringing back here is something that we would also otherwise experience on new earth. Like we would just know. Wow. It's
And I
changing
think
us.
because we've bought into some major principles to allow this to happen, which one is honor, the other is the willing to give up the view that we might be right and change our mind, and working as a team, a family, all those things. When you get that flowing beautifully, that's when this kind of dialogue can happen. I've just been so blessed by this dialogue. It's touched me at the deepest of my heart. It's really, really, really beautiful. It's just been such a flow on what is a very, very difficult topic. I can't believe the flow that's come out of this. I thought we'd be struggling to really know what to say, and it's really encouraged me just that this is what the ecclesia is meant to be like, this beautiful flow, and the revelation is just pouring forth all the time, and we're almost, even the dialogue, we're getting intense encounters, and it's all mixing, matching. It doesn't have to be one or the other anymore. It's just the moment the body gets together, wow, it's just beautiful.
And also because we are operating from New Earth right now.
Yes.
That's where we are now. There's that oneness. The oneness is there.
Yeah, I can feel the flow, because I still feel like eternity will always exist. I always see it. I still see it as this new heaven and new earth. It's not just one new earth. So the eternity is still there. And eternity, infinity is the new heaven, and then there's the new earth. And all I see is these immense new realms underneath new earth that represent the future. I don't know if that's what you're saying, Anushka, or whether you're actually talking about something even more profound.
Could you repeat that?
For a long time we've seen that using the word final blueprint is actually the wrong term. In fact, we should really change that now. We're ready to change that. We need a new phrase. We got this thing in one encounter called the cycle of life. Oh no, but that was going back. No, this is like a creating forward, pay it forward kind of concept. So yeah, we're not aiming for the final blueprint because there'll always be new days and new realms being created by the body, which will change everything for everyone.
That's right.
How about current truth blueprint?
Current truth blueprint.
Something along those lines.
Yes, something along those lines.
Cutting edge of revelation, however you want to say that.
Constant changing blueprint.
How about the most recently revealed blueprint?
or the present final blueprint. The present, because tomorrow can be different.
Well, what I see is when we use the word final, there's like a, how would I
Yeah,
say it?
it
It's like
it blocks it.
the
And
end of it all.
okay,
Yeah, we shouldn't
Uh,
use the word final.
And you know
revive,
something, that
revolve.
may be why everybody's a Destiny book has a last page.
Oh yes, we have a last page. We shouldn't have a last page.
We can't get past that last page because we are framing it for a final
Of
blueprint.
course,
It's not.
of course. Yes.
When I actually heard that in the other encounter the other day, I actually felt that that was the last page of the chapter of the destinies that people are reading.
yes, at least up to Old Earth, I think. So I think we're supposed to achieve all of this while we're still here right now. And then the new Earth is just something completely new. But I think whether it's being a water bearer and entering into the cherubic nature and all the other stuff that we saw in our destiny, in our scroll, I think it's all that we're supposed to fulfill in the now. It's what we're supposed to be in the now. And then when we go to new Earth, it's a whole different ball game, and it's the beginning of everything. I don't
Yes,
know. What
because
do you all think?
it's like you pour these new realms. They're like you go down this portal, this sort of hole, and then it's like you can get off at these different, and then these are new dimensions. So it'll never be just be like how we see the earth now. It'll be always these new realms we can access, and they will be forever changing according to the involvement of the people who go there. And that's why it'll never be boring. We'll never be bored because there'll always be amazing things to explore that we've never seen before.
So my question is, where is New Jerusalem then? Does it become part of New Earth?
Yes, at least that's what I thought.
Okay.
It descends onto New Earth.
Right. New Jerusalem
know,
is
am I
landed
right?
on New Earth. Yes.
Then I thought it descends into over the old Jerusalem.
We saw that. We saw that, Patience, didn't we?
Yes, but does it become part of New Earth?
Can I put a different spin?
Because can I say? Yeah, go ahead.
See, we are going to New Earth, but if you notice, we haven't gone there physically. But our physical bodies have this old memory of going there in our spirit. Yes? So we carry the memory of this new earth, and as we are on this old earth, there are going to be more and more people like us, that physical memory that is turning into physical manifestation taking place, and all cherubic nature and those things will begin to manifest in us here, and there's a more and more limitlessness is going to be manifested in us here. And just think of earth as right now it's earth, but it's in heavenly place. It's hung in the space, but because of what's happening in us, when I say us, I'm not talking about just few people here, but I'm talking about one new man. When we are being revealed and manifested in that fashion physically on this timeline, this place can never stay the same. This will change into a new earth because we carry the record of new earth, and we will begin to manifest in greater manner. This new earth, this old earth can never stay the same. It will be wrapped up and new earth will begin to manifest, and this is the restoration of all things. that can happen.
To answer your question, Patience, what I seen was Revelation 21, and your question about whether New Jerusalem comes upon Old Jerusalem on the old earth, or if it comes on the new earth. And what I see here, Revelation 21 verse 1, it says, "Now I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth had passed away. Also there was no more sea. Then I, John, saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down out of heaven from God," which means it's coming on the new earth, not on the old earth, because it says there that the old earth has already passed away. You see what I'm saying?
I think we're in a transition period somehow right now, though.
Because that's what it says in scriptures.
Yeah, you're right.
What if one day is actually 1,000 years of transforming that is taking place in this earth right now? We're to the point that there's not going to be, you know, even the lions and a lamb actual animals can be side by side and not hurt each other in any manner. And all those things can happen, but it already started and it's going to manifest in a greater manner. What if that one day is actually 1,000 years here and we will still be here because we are immortal and we are going to manifest more and more limitlessness here. I'm just throwing theirs to just possibly consider that might be one of the options.
Maybe our option is not old earth at all, as we're not called to live out from the old earth.
Old earth will be rolled up. As we are here, new earth will manifest. And this new earth, as it manifests that manner, heaven has changed because this earth is hung in the space. So new heaven and new earth, it's just, I think it's something that we should consider.
Yeah, I don't know. I had this view initially. This is what I thought was the blueprint. And then the more I've got into understanding the end times and what it says in Revelation in the other verses before the new heaven and new earth, I'm not seeing this sort of gradual improvement in things. It's actually the opposite. It's like everything's unless we do such major governmental work as forerunners that we quickly bypass those events.
I think, Jane, maybe your governmental act can be how the new earth can be manifested into this new earth, we becoming the portal in that manner to manifest radically fast.
Yes, but having said that, I still see it. So much has to change. It has to be a completely new environment. So even regardless of those things, the whole way the Earth's constructed has to change. So I do see passing away and suddenly a major transition, and all the laws of physics are different. But we were talking about, Bill and I, yesterday about whether, because we've heard a few people talking about how the world's improving and things are getting better, whether that is because we are in this millennial reign, which is a time of favor, and that's why things are pretty stable and things are improving, but that doesn't mean that's going to be the timeline forever.
I think Justin Abraham talks about it too, but I think there is the acceleration. I think that is something we are to be part of, as a portal. We are the portal for this to happen.
Yeah, but if you actually look at the events that it talks about in Revelation, I mean, they are of the most major scale. They're huge, and I fail to see how. At the moment, I fail to see how they're not going to shake the earth, other than we can somehow get some ark thing and we can pull everyone in it to escape those events. So it will be as if we're all living in new earth environment, but those who resist God will be in the old earth, and they'll be subject to that, and we won't. We'll be like a Noah's Ark somewhere.
Want to focus us maybe here at this point possibly on how our experience today in New Earth and our understanding now that all the portals are all inside us, how this will give us acceleration to go up through the rest of the heavenly cities above us at this point and receive a coronation on each of those thrones, and finish the process of becoming 12-fold into the fullness of Christ's 12-fold headship. That's the journey that's ahead of us at this point. And my sense is that what we're experiencing here in New Earth is what's preparing us and giving us the ability to accelerate through those remaining heavenly cities and come into that 12-fold headship in a fairly quick fashion. Not that we're not in the process still becoming fully filled with each of the headship characteristics of each of those cities, and coming into that full 12-fold headship in a fairly soon period of time, and then operating in the fullness of that headship. It would seem to me our initial discussion of the throne might be part of the answer to that question.
Yeah, I'm open to it, however you feel led.
I guess I'm phrasing the question knowing that the journey that's ahead of us right now is of utmost importance to finish the journey here. And before we do that, maybe we need to finish the untethering and tethering we spoke about, though I do have a sense that actually in framing we've already done much of that, if not all of that already, by our framing. We've made that decision to let go of all that's behind us at this point and untether from our understanding of the blueprint and tether into the fullness of New Earth, which I think also includes tethering to the final finish line at the same time. It's like Jesus went in as a forerunner into the Holy of Holies. We're tethering, and then we follow him in. I think we're following him at this point to the final finish line.
Yeah, I feel we've done that.
Okay, good.
So can you say again what you thought we should do around
Well, I'm just asking, I'm sensing there's something in the discussion we've done today and the experience we're having today here in New Earth that gives us the acceleration needed to finish the process of going up to the heavenly cities and to the final finish line. of 12-fold headship.
Well, we had talked about possibly trading, Bill, what
Yeah.
we currently have for what we need. So maybe that could be it, is trading up.
Yeah, the tethering's done, but the trading may still remain to be done.
Yes, and also untethering ourselves from all our stumbling blocks. We need to untether ourselves from so much. I see, because I don't feel like we're able to fully function or really get into the 100% functioning on New Earth.
I felt that too.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I feel
Yeah.
that. I think it's because we haven't fully identified all these 12 cities, taken possession, yeah, and lived out of them,
Yeah.
and we're trying to almost bypass that step and experience New Earth, and we keep hitting these walls. I almost feel like I need to go back now, and Bill and I, we did an awful lot of exploration of what the 12 cities were. I felt we were almost there, and then we kind of left it. Anyway, oh no, we're doing that Friday though, aren't we?
Yes, we are.
Yes, forgotten that.
Okay.
Well, we did some even on Sunday.
Yeah, we did. Jane, we went through Zion and Everlasting, fully getting a coronation in those two cities, and we had a sense that we did an untethering counterclockwise and a tethering clockwise in each of those cities. There was a sense that you sat on the throne, and the throne did a 360 to the counterclockwise or the clockwise, depending on what we were doing. And in that, we were able to fill ourselves with the attributes of those cities. And at that point, there was a fullness, and we're ready now for City of Light to be the next one that we do that process of fully absorbing the city, being filled by it, and then up the list one after the other from there. So we can pick the process up on Friday. In the meantime, we may have covered some of them between now and then. Anybody that's led to do that on a forerunning basis individually or in small groups will accelerate the whole group into that.
You mean going into the 12 cities?
Yeah, going up to the next city up from here and getting a coronation.
So how many more is left?
We have done New Jerusalem, Zion, and Everlasting on Sunday night for those that were there. And if you haven't been, you could listen to the end of that recording when we did that process. The last 20 minutes or so of that recording has it on it. So we would be doing a City of Light would be the next one, and then City of Judgment. Those five, I'm pretty certain we have in the right order. I'm open to be corrected on that. And then after that, I'm not exactly certain of the order of the cities. We'll get that, I'm sure. And then we've got a couple that still we don't have revealed to us yet, I don't think. But it will be. They will be.
Yes.
But I don't see the process taking too long if we put our mind to it. Not that we're hurrying through it. It's just that we're making it a priority. Because the sooner we get to the finish line and step into 12-fold headship, having fully been filled by each of these cities, the sooner we're able to function in that 12-fold headship.
Yeah. So are we saying we're doing that this Friday?
I think we would continue that process on Friday.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be good.
We might even want to schedule a continuation on a regular basis for the next little while until we finish that.
Yep. I'm for it.
I mean, like weekly or something, or even less.
And we can even do the next on Sunday, or on our next Sunday.
We could do more of this on Sunday, Patience. That's true. We have a bi-weekly setup, but we don't have to stick to it this time around. We could just meet this Sunday in First Fruit Fathers and continue on the process. So then we'd be doing it on Friday and more on Sunday. And those in this
Yeah.
group that want to participate can come Friday, and you're all welcome to come on Sunday as well to finish, to work some more on going up through the cities and receiving coronation. Because
I'm all for it.
this group here is the group that's making that journey.
Hmm.
Yes.
So awesome.
Yeah. We are
I feel-
functioning together as a governmental venture right now.
Yeah, I feel there's something special about this grouping of people. It's unbelievable.
Yep.
How many are there? Is there 8 of us?
We have 8 currently on, and one had to leave early, so there's 9 of us.
No, we are 8 now, which is
Yeah.
new beginning.
Yeah.
New
Oh,
it.
yeah. Yes. Oh, yeah.
Hallelujah.
And I can also see, Bill, you really leading people through to possess all these 12 cities and really for it to mean something.
Yeah, it is my mandate. I set it down for a little bit. I've picked it back up. I recognized I actually had posted a page saying I was passing it to other people, and I think that was a big mistake. It was a walking away from my mandate. And I'm glad that other people did pick it up and discover other cities, but I think we need to continue on, and I'd be glad to work on that. On Friday, we'll work together as a group, but Patience and I functioned very well facilitating this together on Sunday, so we can do that again on Sunday. So you're all welcome to First Fruit Fathers on Sunday and Friday as well. I really want to make this an emphasis for the next little while.
Because what I'm seeing is that you could pass on the role of the entering the cities to some other people, but I see you more
leading
them to possess and understand the difference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In American baseball term, there's the pitcher that starts the game, and there's a guy that's called a closer. Finishes the game. And so right now we're functioning as closers. As a 4-running bench, we're functioning as closers. We're finishing the process of this race that we're doing.
Because to get to the point of people being able to say, I am this, is a huge thing.
Yeah.
I mean, we've embraced it quite easily, I think, because we've done the journey for so long.
Yep.
But for others to actually say, I am, the way, the truth, the life. Whew,
and today, I am New Earth is the I am statement.
Yes, yeah.
And there will be a second wave coming after us. There seems to be a second wave, and from my observation, they're not doing the run to the top and then back down to go up again. They seem to be doing it on a thorough one-step process, getting the fullness city by city, and not doing this running ahead that we did to discover them.
It's because the mandates are different.
It's a different mandate.
Yeah, our mandate, we had to, because in our nature, we had to know where we were going.
Yes.
To open up the doors for them.
Yep.
Forerunners.
Yeah.
New Jerusalem Discovery Group. We're 2 weeks into this now, and they haven't sat down on the throne yet in New Jerusalem, and I'm holding my tongue. I don't want to give any hints out in the middle of the encounter, though I've posted some things here and there. But I was wondering why. But they're getting all of this deep preparation, and the new journey group, the upper journey group, is on the Firestones and getting prepared, and so they're getting a whole different journey. So it's really up to us. There isn't going to be somebody else coming along immediately to do what we're doing here.
Yeah, I see the journey as different for different people. Maybe for the Forerunner group, it would have been different with us.
Yep.
But I think that because they each individually become life and all the aspects and come into union with him, not so much corporately, but individually.
Yep.
It totally depends on the stumbling blocks and whether they're operating in the old wineskin and so much.
I do see this group corporately together, though, as well as individually. But you do have to possess it individually, or you don't possess it.
Yes.
But I think we can, at this point today, we can trade, we can tether onto the finish line and commit ourselves to making this a primary commitment to finish the race sometime soon together. And Friday and Sunday are the practical ways to do that. This has been wonderful.
Mm.
And Jane, thank you for opening your heart to us and sharing your testimony. We honor you
Yes.
for it.
Yes, thank you, Jane.
Mm. Thank you.
And we
So much
step
hope.
into it.
This full running is a hard work, really hard work.
Yeah. Sometimes it's like you're all alone, you know, on this.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah. Because
Well,
you feel like you're saying things that you constantly carry the burden of, is this right? Am I leading these
Yeah.
whole people into this way that they shouldn't be going? I do carry that burden daily. But it's funny how it's sort of, what I've learned as well is you can never define these things absolutely right. So in some sense, it doesn't matter if you don't define it 100% right, but you get like 70% right, because people distort it anyway, and they're going to do some version that differently. But the refining kind of, well, sometimes even the refining doesn't matter, or it doesn't even matter that whether you know this or you know that. Sometimes then you have to leave those questions and say, well, that question actually doesn't really matter. The bigger question, and I think that's a bit around the dialogue of what is Metatron's cube, and I think that's one of those things as well that we might never ever be able to get that 100% right. But the key question is, what is our role now in end times? Because when I'm horrified, I mean, I feel like my eyes have opened up and I was in some fantasy land thinking it was all just going to be a beautiful, sweet future. And the more I've got into these verses, I'm like, a mature son has to understand these verses, and you have to be able to really know what you're led to on these. And we've got to get to grips with those. But I can feel it's almost like there's such horrible verses, and there's been so much talk about them in the past. I can feel like a blockage, like people want to go the bliss route. Everything's blissful and it's just going to get better and better. But I think we have to ask the hard questions. We really do, to make sure we get going with the final truth. And the more we ask the hard questions, the more we're mature enough to really embrace that, the more we will really see the truth, not some fantasy version of what we want of the truth.
Twelvefold headship's going to bring a lot of answers and a lot of authority to deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
So the fullness of the negative that you see there, I mean, the fullness of judgment that's there along with life. I mean, death that's there along with life. From twelvefold headship, I think we will be able to carry the fullness of that burden and the full truth of it, and then face it and deal with it.
I think we will, because just from the magnitude of the few encounters we've had on the Wednesday night, I've been blown away of what we've been able to uncover and deal with on that. You could see a real flow. We're being led down this and we're knocking off these kind of major historical events. I can't believe how much I'm consumed with this, because it's just not me. This is just not me. I know it's God. Like, I'm giving me such a hunger to understand these events. I'm absolutely obsessed with it at the moment. I can't think of anything else but to ask what all these events mean and what we need to do for them. Because I think that one of the other revelation I've had is there's a huge emphasis in Heavenly Realms around the mystics. And I've been asking and asking, and the revelation I've had to date is that the mystic route was, they only saw part of the picture. And so it's not a full, reliable route to go. But there's been such a strong foundation of it that many are going just the complete mystic route, and based on really experiences of some of the saints centuries ago, and they didn't see the whole blue picture. So it's not the full picture to follow, it's the mystic route.
Yes, yes, I see that. Because a lot of the times it's about the experience and wanting to experience certain things. Whereas the bigger picture, or I'm not going to say the final blueprint, but the highest blueprint that we see right now, um, we're not able to see that if we operate like that.
Yeah, and it was only really putting emphasis on a few strands, and a lot more emphasis on Jesus, and well, mainly union with Jesus. I think they were really focusing on the union with Jesus, and so the whole side of governmental and the father strands, they hadn't fully embraced. And I think that's why it makes sense now. For years, I could not understand why my journey was so different from some of theirs, and I kept asking and asking. It just didn't pan out how I'd heard others' journey had, and now I understand it, and I see we're actually pioneering a whole new spiritual age that has never existed. And that's why we can't just go back and copy the mystics of the 15th century. And this is a new time.
Then that is why some of them are even asking us to give them a body to come and finish what they began. You know, they did more of the three strands of Jesus, the way, the truth, and the life, and they are left with righteousness, peace, and joy, holiness, justice, and judgment.
I see what you mean.
Yes. So they want us to give them their body so they can come and finish it with us. They are
yes. That's resonating. Yes. Oh, well, shall we finish the recording? It's a long recording.
Turning it off.